Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monte Wolf Show. Degon here alongside Wolf, who still just cannot find the funds to fix his camera. He's just a picture boy. Probably wearing a hat. Are you wearing a hat?
I don't know. Do you think I'm wearing a hat? What's your read?
I
You can't see me.
well, normally you'd be wearing a hat. I think if you were wearing a hat, you would say, yes, I'm wearing a hat, and you would describe the hat. But now I don't know.
I'm not wearing a hat because the camera isn't working, so I don't need it. My hair is all messy, and I don't care because I'm not on camera because I can't fix it yet. But I'm hopefully having it fixed, or at least have a temporary solution for next week. So sorry guys, but can't see my face, can't see what hat I'm wearing, you can't see what shirt I'm wearing. I'm wearing a Space Invader shirt, but yeah.
Well, Wolf's weakness is messy hair and looking disheveled during professional times. However, if you don't want to look disheveled and you want to level up maybe the way that you appear, check out our friends over at Into the AM. We have our brand new Last Free Nation t-shirt collaboration with Into the AM, which is out right now. Equip yourself with this high quality shirt now at intotheam.com/LFN-T2. And while you're there, you can shop at the Into the AM Labor Day sale. Items are up to 50% off until the 7th of September. This is in addition to the extra 10% off you always get by using our link intotheam.com/LFN-T2. That's intotheam.com/LFN-T2. Thanks to our friends over at Into the AM, making sure that you and I and everyone can look baller. Let's get into it, straight into it here, Wolf, because yesterday was a day, the final day of the elongated LCK regular season, the first only one split season there was in the LCK, and we've had 150 games, and it all came down to the final game to decide who was making it into play-ins. Like, you can't ask for more than that. And on the call was Atlas and you, Wolf. I feel like that had to be crazy. It was the final team fight of the final game on the final day between the final two teams after a throw in game 3. I was dying. How was it for you?
I really enjoyed it, even though the level of gameplay was relatively tragic. Compared to, like, we had GenG T1 the day before, and obviously earlier in the day had the Nongshim series, which was it was much better gameplay than what we saw in this series, but you could really feel how both teams were not playing their best because of the pressure, and how both teams were not being decisive at times because of the pressure. And that's always fun in this series when you see, like, both teams are like posturing on Dragon. They're like, I don't know, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't have enough vision. I'm not confident we can take this fight, and it ends up being kind of a slower paced start because of that kind of nerve setup that you have, where you're super nervous about, like, this one fight could actually cost me the rest of my year. And the stakes usually don't get that high. As for the rest of the teams, like for DNF, we knew they were not in, like, a long time ago, like a really, really long time ago. And then, you have everyone else fighting for seeding and stuff like that, but you know that they're not going to be eliminated. Like, no one's going to be eliminated. So we didn't have a series like this. It feels like it's the first playoffs match in a sense, because it is just directly a elimination match. Yeah. And so the vibe on that was pretty cool. The audience was extremely involved, which was really fun, and everyone came to support their teams. Like, we had a lot of foreign fans for Bro come out in droves. It was a very, very emotional series, I think, for DRX fans especially because DRX is way more popular in Korea. I think this probably doesn't come as a surprise to people. DRX is way more popular in the West as well, even though Bro has, like, the cult following. Yeah. Because they won a world championship with Deft, right? Like, that's why DRX is so well renowned. I really enjoyed the tension. I enjoyed the cast because I think we mixed tension with silliness a little bit. Because that's kind of like the vibe of the series, and I don't know. I just really enjoy it. Those types of games don't come around too often.
Yeah. And I, as the Bro fan, and also has personal connections with DRX staff and the homies there. This was so heart like wrenching for me. Like, I know that you guys did the do it for him kind of meme stuff, and people wanted me to call in. I kind of wanted to respect the series more, but I still feel like you and Max and everyone played it so well. Like, it's still a eighth place match. Like, we're maybe the first step to Worlds for Bro, obviously, but in reality, still a eighth place match that had way more stakes than what any other league's eighth place match would have. You know, like, I guess I can think of like Disguised beating Dignitas again earlier this year as like the a match that shouldn't have that many stakes, but does, because it was Disguised getting their first series win, and that wasn't even the playoff win. But other than that, it had no right to be this tense, because we also had our LCK Global prediction standings going on. For you guys, you had the perfect 10 out of 10 week stakes going on. There was so many things going on in this series, as well as the gameplay just being so tense and a little goofy. And then in that game 3, just the throw that happened with the Bros trying to break into the base, and then Krako trying to stop them from doing Baron, but he does, but then he dies. It was a nonstop action. I rarely tell people to go back and go watch a series, but you should go back and go watch this series.
Hype having such a horrible performance, and then the final fight does 10,000 damage, flashes on Teddy, wins the game. It was like pretty cool to see, like, that kind of mini redemption story within a series. Krako, I'll tell you a small side story. This is a very short story, but it really touched me. Krako, I think, got pulled to do like an interview or something after they won, and he came up to where I was sitting waiting, because after the broadcast we all kind of sit in the cafeteria but behind the scenes and wait for everyone to finish, so we all leave together. Sometimes we have a post meeting, or talk about what we're going to do for an upcoming show, stuff like that. Everyone's just hanging around there, and Krako came and was really close to me. I don't want to say he came all the way up to me, but he bowed to me and said basically the Korean equivalent of like, good work today. And like, it wasn't like, because in Korea often when you do that, the term you use, sugohashasumnida, like when you do that, it's often kind of just like a formality. Like, you just say it and you bow, but you don't even like really look at the person. You just kind of like repeatedly say it to everyone around you. But when he said it to me, he like looked and made sure that I acknowledged that he said it to me. But that was pretty shocking to me, because a pro gamer has never really
done that to me.
I was like, wow, that's so insanely respectful. And I was like, he's having like a great day, but he's super humble, also super respectful. And at the end of the time, the bro staff was losing their minds as well. Backstage, everyone was like clapping and going crazy. And then they won the coin toss as well for their upcoming match against Nongshim. So they were all like super hyped about that. Like, there was the initial hype of like, we won the series and they won the coin toss. So they were all just like feeling great, and it was just a really good vibe. Obviously, on the other side of things, like the DRX vibe was not so great. Especially because like they basically won that game and then didn't use the Baron as well as they needed to, and ultimately it came to an Elder flip, and they were not able to win the fight, right? So it was kind of crazy, the way that all ended up. But DRX, they had a pretty good end of the year. I feel, all things considered. Like, there was some level ups. Teddy came back as the main character. Rich got much better. So I don't know. I just had fun with the series. Like, there were so many stakes. The predictions thing and Chronicler with the sword and all that stuff was just all a lot of fun. And it was one of those days where, like, because we had this series, end of regular season day, sometimes it's just a slog. You have two series like the KT series we had earlier, where it's like, it means nothing. Basically, we were kind of lucky in that series too, because the stakes were maybe Nongshim wins their first series. They did not, or even get close to it, sadly for them.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have like this terrible last day where nothing matters, and then we have these long team interviews with teams that are like eliminated or had a bad day, and you're like, oh god, this is horrible. I don't want to be a part of this. I just want to go home. And then yet today we had like this epic end of the series, or epic end of the day, epic end of the series. And then like the Chronicler sword bit that came through where he stabbed Woodheed in the end because he won the predictions thing, which was a running joke for us the whole day. Because had DRX won, I would have had perfect predictions for the week, for example. So Max and I were kind of competing against each other there. It was just very fun. Like it was the most serious yet somehow also fun and unserious day that you could end a regular season on. So it felt like a perfect bookend to where we now move into postseason.
Yeah, especially because everything earlier in the week had to go their way. Like the whole week, there were a couple of matches that didn't matter, and the ones that did matter provided. Like DRX only needed to win one game against BNK FearX. Even if they won the series, it still would have been the same outcome of like win and you're in, lose and you're out. Like there was no game score thing, except DRX needed to win one game. They were able to do that against BNK FearX. The Bros needed to win the series against Dplus, and they would have secured their spot. Of course, they go 0-2 against Dplus Kia, which set up that week. It was just a great way to end a very long week in a very long season because of how burnout can happen. And it was just fun to watch and support from not home or not at work. I wish I don't wish I could be there because days off are important to rejuvenate, and I didn't want to go in person because of the heart-wrenching nature of the game for me. But I'm so happy and proud to be part of this team, and I'm glad that we're able to knock that out with such a banger game. The term banger being used a little loosely there, but definitely a banger game. We're going to dive into a little bit deeper dive into our two teams that got eliminated just because it's a I want to say a crushing process when you get into the arena and you compete and things don't work out. Like it is very tough and very crushing to face that and do that. But before we do, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Mando. Maybe you haven't noticed, but fall's here. There's crisp air. Football is back. College football is back. NFL starts next week. Maybe a bonfire too. But if you're like most guys, you're still putting in hard work. That means sweat. But don't let your odor sideline you. Mando's deodorant plus sweat control is for real working guys. Formulated to stop odor before it starts and doesn't mask odor with overwhelming fragrance. So you can tackle anything from the job site to the tailgate with confidence. Don't mask it. Mando it. Now, you've heard us talk about Mando multiple times, all the time on this show. It's something that has become part of our daily routines to control sweat. This isn't your typical deodorant. It's clinical strength, 2 times better at controlling sweat than the standard deodorant. And it controls sweat and odor for 72 hours. And after just 12 hours, underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. This stuff works. And it's mobile, easy to carry, different form factors, whether you want the cream, whether you want the stick, also the soap. Mando's got you covered. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers, and it comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our code Monte Wolf at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. That's Monte Wolf at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping for the new customers, thanks to our friends over at Mando.
Get it.
All right, Wolf, let's talk about DRX and DNF. Our two teams that got eliminated. They put their hearts, their minds, their souls, their pride, everything on the line, and were knocked out. DNF, this happened earlier, and we've held off on really diving into them lately, other than them with some upsets, specifically of the bros. But are there any, when we think about DNF 2025, how about this? DNF 2025, what will you remember?
I will remember, like, and this is like, I don't mean this as a diss, but I will probably remember historically how bad they were and how the struggle wasn't solved. Like it's definitely it's a team that did not actually play to the sum of its parts for the entire year and has a lot of talent packed into it. And at the end of the year, we saw them get a little bit better, and some of the play we were seeing, for example, from Pyosik was way improved, and they looked like they were closer to being as good as they were at the very beginning of the year. They just never really recovered, and it's kind of another case study for you can teach like mechanics, you can improve laning, like these are things that can be taught very easily, very quickly. Mechanics are like your hands, your physical mechanics are very simple to solve in a lot of cases, especially if you're making small mistakes, in terms of your laning or in terms of like how you are positioning. But fixing shot calling and getting everyone on the same page and making the right decision on objectives seems to be the hardest thing to fix in the LCK for our teams. And so like we've had so many teams this year who have showcased it, but their baseline, their floor is so much higher. That doesn't matter. Like Nongshim and Dplus come to mind. Both have serious decision-making problems at the highest level, and it happens to Dplus that could lose to anyone because they almost lost to DNF this week because of the problems that they have there. But you can see DNF, I think, with the somewhat relatively low floor they had in terms of individual performances and their decision-making problems that plagued them for the entirety of the year, they just couldn't get past it. They couldn't solve it, and they had a whole year to do so. And we had like Pyosik come in and say like they changed some things. They tried to go quiet for a while. They did a lot of different things to fix it. And then there were kind of some hints in some interviews like, oh, we're doing much better now. But I never saw it. I never saw it in the gameplay. When in those rare moments we got to see the comms, it was just as messy as it was like all year long, every single time. And clearly this was a roster that, not that it didn't trust, like they didn't trust each other, is couldn't figure out how to tell each other where they wanted to be, and no one innately was a leader enough to make those types of calls. And unlike a lot of other teams that do very little comms and everyone already knows everyone's playstyle and how they're going to engage a fight, like this team needed comms to be confident enough to fight those. It's not like you were going to see quick snap engages from life every time and the rest of the team followed up without saying anything. Like a lot of teams operate that way, but this team just simply needed people to say, I'm going in or I'm positioning here. And like people were yelling out that flashes were down and stuff like as people were engaging. Like it was just not ever concise or clean or clear. And it's just a reminder that like this type of thing that we've seen so many times, so many problems. Like Dplus had this problem, right? They brought Bible in, then they finally brought Barrel in, and like they still couldn't solve it. Like, is so tricky, and I feel bad for them because there's obviously a lot of raw talent, and the longer the season goes on, the more you lose, the less confidence you have, then the less confidence you have in team fights, less confidence you have in that shot calling. Or when you decide to step up and make a call and it's the wrong one sometime, that one time, then you're like super reluctant the next time to make the call. It's just a really tragic situation overall. And with this format, with it's a long year, long season, it's hard to justify making roster adjustments, especially when you had such a rough half at the beginning of the year. Like realistically, you know you're not going to make the run that you want. So if you spend money trying to fix this roster, which is not even a lot of talent available for to do, then that's a tough call. So it sucks if your management here or the players to just be like, it's doomed. There's just no way out. And then when you get eliminated that early, you're like, all the rest of our matches are literally meaningless. Just a really rare and niche situation. If you compare them, they were eliminated like weeks ago, and then DRX got to play until like the literally very last series. So for DRX, who was the other eliminated team, like they literally got to play up until the end. Everything matters, whereas DNF was just stuck.
Yeah, it's what I will remember about this team was, and it was before they were eliminated, Wolf, but I was always excited to come in on a DN Freaks Day because they found new ways to lose. The 2025 DN Automotive Freaks year will be the team that invented ways to lose. And it was so entertaining. It was, I don't think I've ever felt like this before. Even when I was on Golden Guardians and all we did was lose, and you had like the cloud on it. It was never like, oh, we're gonna lose. It was like, oh, we have this lead, and then I would like run into the wall again. With this DNF team, it was always like, how are they gonna throw it this time? And my God, they kept inventing, bro.
Yeah, it was insane.
It was so insane. I just can't remember a team that innovated in the opposite way. Just because teams that have been that bad have looked like they didn't belong. They didn't have the skill set. They were in the wrong league. That wasn't DNF. This DNF team couldn't finish. They did not finish.
Yeah. So the youngest player, like the least experienced player, on this roster is Bulldog. Like put that in perspective. He has like, and like, I guess Berserker is around the same time period as Bulldog. But like Berserker has accomplished a lot more, right? Has gone deeper. So like, I don't put them the same, but you could say both of them, right? But I would say Berserker has more really big experience with lands and stuff like that. Like I would put him as the more experienced player. But like Bulldog has been around since 2022. Like this is not like a player who has no experience, right? He's not a rookie.
Right.
And so when you and like it's LCK, right? This team is playing in the LCK. So you have a certain expectation that with leads like the lead they had against Bro in that famed game, there's no realistic way to lose. Like it's not acceptable to lose, it's not normal to lose, it's not predictable. And yet with this team, even with like 8,000 gold leads, sometimes we were not sure. Like we would literally make jokes about it backstage. Like, how are they going to throw this one? Like,
so was Coach Odin, right? I mean, we had the whole lulls piece, which is created by the LCK content team of like, oh, they got to hit the, what was it, 11,000 gold threshold, then they win, and they like gave high fives to each other. Like it became a meme. Wolf.
Yeah. They didn't know how to snowball their advantages, and then they could not team fight well on objectives from ahead, so they just kept losing. And so like that's the reason why they kept losing, but you still are kind of like, nah, surely this time like they'll just team fight. Because when you see them team fight in some of those early skirmishes that got them to the lead in the first place, you're like, well, clearly they can team fight. Like they're kind of on point today. Like surely, like they have it in them. I just saw it. Like I just saw them team fight, and they did all the right things. And then later in the game, like nerves come online or something, and then the shot calling gets a bit too messy. There's too many things to consider, and the stakes get higher. And then, we just tossed it away. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely like a way to remember this team. Seeing Pioshik and Berserker, obviously the two of them very close with each other, walking around together and having this. I mean, when you see them walking around LoL Park, they have this look on their faces like, which might surprise people, but like that they are unaffected by anything. Like they are totally like they're aware of the situation they're in. It doesn't depress them. They're not happy about it, but they're just like they're just on the grind. You know what I mean? Like they had this look on their faces when I saw them walking around talking to each other and stuff that like it's another day. Hopefully today we win. We're gonna try our best, and we're here. We're fucking professionals. We're gonna do our jobs. That was the vibe that you got from these guys every day. And I remember just thinking to myself when I see them, like, oh, it must be tough. And then looking at them for a minute and being like, they're handling it well.
Yep.
And I can't necessarily have the same insights about like Bulldog and the rest of the crew, but it seemed like because Pioshik Piotrek is also a player who has a relationship with a lot of players in the league. He's played on a lot of different teams. He's a very friendly guy, so he will go talk to anybody. So I see Piotrek a lot. Like he's wandering around Law Park a lot. Bulldog's kind of like staying to himself backstage. I don't see like how he's handling it as much, but I don't know. I think this team needs to be blown up. And we'll see where everyone lands next year. And I think that it may shock people, but probably not. If Berserker goes to a different team, if he stays in the LCK, he'll probably look better. And I think the same will be true of Piotrek and perhaps even Dudu. Maybe this team in different rosters that have better shot calling and better coordination, they can shine better. They actually will look better. That's my expectation.
Yeah. Under contract for next year is Piotrek and Life. My biggest concern is where does Berserker go because of the heights that he's been able to achieve before and not really getting to showcase that and seeing, hearing, being a KDA player and part of that is true, right? There were times where you and I have talked about like you did need to go in there and try to dish out damage because otherwise you're just selling out your teammates and yeah. I wish that he would get another chance. I hope that he gets another chance, but LCK is a little cutthroaty, right? It's brutal. Like, I think it's very different the way that people will look at Berserker compared to Diablo. Like, Diablo, I think, could fast track to one of those top teams if a contract dispute came up. Like, I think they would, like, a team would be like, yeah, we're going to buy this kid because it's way less, and we think that there's space there. Whereas with the Berserker, it might be, well, who's left? All right, let's get, Berserker, or do we take a chance on a rookie? So
exactly. There's just no... The LCK doesn't really use new talent, and I would consider Berserker as new talent to the ecosystem because he hasn't really played on LCK teams before, except obviously his time at T1. And they're not going to replace Guma with him. So, like, he has no relationship with other teams right now outside of DNF. And when you look at the lineup of all the other 80 carries like that are in the league, you're like, oh, there just really isn't that much space. Like, maybe you could replace Gio. Like, that feels like the best in for him to get an upgrade here and go into a better team is to replace Gio. And like, Gio had a bad year. I don't actually know where Gio's when his contract ends, but just I'm talking from a theoretical perspective of like who you could replace, because even trying to replace Teddy is just like it's not going to happen. Like, if Teddy wants to stay on this roster and DRX is still interested in paying his salary, like, he'll probably keep his spot because he has a relationship with the team. They've eventually figured out how they're going to utilize him. Like, he became the main starter again after Lazyfield was subbed back out, and Teddy's just kind of now the main guy again, and the whole team is playing around Teddy only, so you can't replace him, and you're never going to get into the upper echelon. You're not going to replace Duckdom, like you're never going to replace Viper. Like, are you crazy? So like,
yeah,
it's hard because LCK doesn't. The LCK goes, okay, safe players have experience. That's what I want. The more experience, the more accolades also means the more famous you are, the more sponsors you can get. And then someone like Berserker breaking into the space, it's hard for him because he was on the worst team, even though he's really good and had a bunch of success outside of Korea. Korean fans don't really care about that. And Korean teams can't really trust necessarily that he's going to be the guy. He'd have to go through a lot of trials and tests. And it's just easier to go, nah, I played with Diablo this year. I think he's got a lot of potential growth. He's pretty cheap. I'm going to keep him. I'm going to keep Teddy. I know known quantity. Berserker's a little bit unknown quantity. And LCK teams like, I don't like unknown quantity. You only get the unknown quantities when you're building these teams like the Bro roster where Closer's available, better snap that up. He's relatively known, but I don't know how he's going to play with us, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. There was do you remember earlier in the year, the rumor was that he was going to KT, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see that. And during LCK Cup and part of like round one of the regular season, Duckdom looked bad. Like, we were like, what? They're going to put in, was it Trigger? They're going to try someone else out. And I was like, gosh, that would have been such a fit. That's why this, the way that you carry yourself is important. Your performance is important. And then the off season, like it all happened so quick, how things could have been different. So, DNF, the team that invented entertaining ways to lose in 2025. What a roster. Do you keep anyone?
Well, I mean, obviously, Life and Pure Sugar are staying.
Yeah, but
Interestingly,
do you keep anyone?
yeah, no, I mean, I'm saying I kind of think if you keep Berserker, that might be fine, but you need to replace mid and top because like I think Life is probably the person who should be replaced the most, but like he's contracted. I mean, they might let him go. We don't know what's gonna happen. Just because you're contracted doesn't mean you're permit in. Like he can be given like his free agency back and stuff like that. But like clearly there needs to be like Bulldog has not been a decisive player really ever. That's why like his Weaver's walls and stuff get so criticized. Like because it's just I don't know. He cannot make snap decisions. And like mid laners need to be able to do that because you need to be able to realm warp. You need to be able to Weaver's Wall. Like Bullet to me is a player who like he's confident on a few different champions. Like it's like his Tristana where he knows okay I think I can calculate exactly how much damage I need to get the jump reset and is aggressive on that. His like Aurelion Soul is the perfect example though of like the type of player Bulldog is. He's like I'm scaling. I will sit back and do damage and play very safely and I'm ready to do damage and I'm ready to be relevant later. But like making calls like going for a shuffle into an Emperor's Divide to try to warp that team, he's like, that's not really for me, you know. that's not what I do. Galio Flash looking for a taunt, that ain't really what I'm about. That's what it feels like to me when I watch Bulldog play. So, yeah, I would like to see him replaced just because. Like Karis, who is like the old Bulldog player, the potential player, like, oh, he has so much potential. Just wait and see. Like, I've seen enough. I'm ready to see. Like, maybe Bulldog is better off in a different team too because he's only played with this org. But yeah, I want to see mid replaced due to also maybe a little bit more firepower there if they can find it. Bring Pana back. We've talked about this before, but
yeah, it is interesting how I just it doesn't seem like the academy guys or the challengers guys are the ones that you slot in to give it a shot. And even just this year, right, with Hambach, hype was okay, but probably the worst AD carry in the league. Who else? Way. I just don't think that's it. So you might have to go check and see because you think about UCal came back, looked okay, and you had highs, had lows. You had Fisher as well, had highs, had lows. This might be one of those things where you go look at LTA North, you go look at LPL and be like, hey, now that you got some experience, do you go with them or do you just ride with Bulldog? Because part of me thinks, where else do you get it, Wolf? Like, where else do you find the mid lane?
I just don't think. I want to make this very clear. The difference between LCK and LCK challengers is massive. Like,
especially in that role, especially in mid,
and like the way that teams developed in the past. Like, you can't have a Griffin story anymore because teams don't promote together. They don't bring their pre-existing synergy together. So like that type of thing where you could try to like imagine challengers as a thing where basically you have this elite team coming in doesn't exist. And remind you, or I will remind everyone that Nongshim won challengers, promoted that entire roster into their LCK team, and they got blasted and they were a really bad team and did not do well at all. Like it was like a stark reminder that the proven experienced players who are also famous and bring you big money because they are likable and like get you sponsors and get you views on your YouTube contents and stuff like that. They're the safe bet, and this has been solved. And so the gap just gets bigger and bigger as these players get more and more experience. Like, I'm not even talking about like Faker, BDD, Viper experience, like, but even someone like Closer has so much more to offer than Zini right now. Like, I know Zini's hyped as a mid laner for KT, like everyone's talking about him, but Zini's just a risk. You don't know how he's going to perform in LCK. We've seen so many top tier LCK CL mid laners just flop in the LCK and not do well, including Bulldog. And so you're like, I don't know, closer seems safe. I'm gonna keep him. Like that's what most teams will say because the difference in cost is not that high. And then if you tank your whole year trying to develop a player, then you've just lost all of your investment. You've lost all your money. Like, it's just not even ever worth the risk. So we're trapped in this situation right now with LCK where it's hard for these players to actually develop and grow. And I think the only way out of it is to maybe like add more teams and or get rid of the challenger system entirely, because right now it's just not a good way to grow or to get these players in LCK. It's a decent way for like smaller tournaments around the world to get Korean talent. That's what the LCK CL is. that is what CL is. It's like for a player like Poby is not delusional, by the way. He's the GOAT, by the way. He knows that his career prospects are to go overseas. Like, he's aware of it. And finally he's like, oh, sick, I got contacted by Fnatic, goes over to the LEC. Because he knows there is right now not really a place for him in the LCK, like at all. So that's kind of like where, like, Zini probably feels the same way. He's probably like, all right, I'm ready to go overseas. Like, call me up, because I don't have a spot in the LCK right now. He's playing behind BDD, obviously, on KT Rolster, so someone else has to acquire him, and it's just not going to happen. Maybe it happens if like there's a big blow up of a roster like DF, like maybe he replaces Bulldog and he ends up there, but that's not. Would you rather join a team, stay in Korea, and be like a bottom mid laner? Or would you do the Poby and show up and instantly become famous overseas, get a bunch of new Twitter followers, get a bunch of new sponsors, make big money? Like, these players probably don't even necessarily want to join these bottom teams in the LCK. So,
yeah.
Now, I want to tirade about that, but I think the system in Korea for new talent is completely broken, and it needs to be completely reworked, or we're going to have big problems in a few years.
I just think it's difficult. I think it's really hard to find the solution, because another way to think about it is, and Wolf, you know this because we discuss it as global League of Legends fans. The amount of games you play in a region completely drops if you go anywhere else except LPL. Like, if you go to LTA, you played like 50 games total. If you go to LEC, you got to wait a month to play 2 series or whatever it is. Like, you're getting a ton of games in challengers. You're getting a ton of games as the bottom team in the LCK. Like, you are getting the reps that theoretically are the best for you against the competition that's best for you, but maybe not the situation that's best for you. So as a pro player, trying to have to weigh that is difficult. And when it comes back to the Bulldog question, he is the number 1 player in solo queue, in Korean solo queue. He has been the number 1 player in Korean solo queue for years now. He has gotten 3 years of first team LCK reps and fought off substitutions multiple times now. Like, he got subbed out a couple games. They're like, no, Bulldog's our guy. I don't know if you can find a better candidate. Like, yeah. I don't know. And we'll see. So if there's a player to keep, I love Berserker. I love Pioshik. Those are my boys. I think it's Bulldog. And you just need the better supporting cast around him. And that's what I thought that they built. You got veterans, you got veteran Dudu, you've got, game breaking life. He's had so many wins, he's played so many games, and it just felt like it never came together. And you can't also say that, oh, well, Bulldog is the problem, because last year they had the puncher's chance. Last year they made playoffs. So I think it was just more of this concoction of the roster didn't work out, and you're just hurting for mid laners. So we'll see.
Yeah,
damn, that was long.
Yeah, that was a really long discussion. I want to actually give us just one quick stat, because what you were talking about was looking at this. So, Yehu in round let's look at this, rounds 3 to 5, has played 34 games. how many games do you think Poby has played in like the same sort of equivalent timeline since he joined the LEC?
I can hear you. Look, everyone, his picture is frozen, but you can hear the laugh in his voice. I feel like games. He joined this split. LEC plays 4 series, I think, because it's 2 groups of 5. I think they went 2-0, 2-0, 2-1, 0-2. So what is that? 9 games?
9 games. He has played 9 games. You're exactly correct.
Oh my God, dude.
He has a 66.7% win rate, and obviously has a lot of acclaim as an XT1 player. He's been memed by people like myself. We made the meme on Challengers that he's the GOAT. Came into LCK, obviously, as an emergency sub. So he's doing great. Yehu's sitting at a 44.1% win rate. Did not make it to play-ins, right? Like, that's the difference. Like, that's like, do you want to replace Yehu or do you want to go to the LEC? Like, that question... This legit reminds me of StarCraft 2 and the problems that happened in StarCraft 2 when players like MC could just go win WCS Europe for free, basically, and like it could either compete in the GSL and it's really, really, really hard and nobody cares if you just get knocked out in the first round, or just go pop off in another region and make free money. This is kind of a story as old as time for Korean exports, but it feels right now more intense than ever that talented players just can't and possibly don't want to go into the LCK.
I mean, here's the list of possible replacements, and this is just in North America. Loki, Keeney, Quad, Saint, Quid. Remember, those guys have been there for a while. Quad and Quid. More importantly, Quid's been there for a while. And they've been able to make it. Quid was behind Chovy, right? He was like, well, I'm not getting games here. And he's become the MVP of the league. And now you always want to know the question of like, could they do that in the LCK? And Berserker was one of the few people that had the opportunity to show it and that made it somewhere else, right? Pioshik made it in DRX first in the LCK, then went to NA, then came back. But do you risk that, or do you trust what you see with Bulldog and like the highs and the lows? God, it's such a good question and only will be answered by next season. But that is the journey that each player has to go through. In a few months,
we're gonna be getting the leaks. People are gonna be messages. Yo, I heard a bit, blah blah blah. I was going, wow, it's gonna be hype. Off season's really fun.
Yeah. The other team, and we won't spend as much time because we talked about it a little bit, and also we just spent so much time talking about DNF. But they deserved it. We didn't really talk about it. Well, is DRX, when we think of the phrase for 2025 DRX, Wolf, what is it for you?
I think DRX was I think experimental would probably be the word I use. They tried a lot of different stuff. They tried with the UCal setup, which was early on in the year felt like he was the main character, right? Like at the beginning of the year, people forget now because it's been gone for so long. But like UCal popped off and jumped out of his chair and busted his ass. Remember that? That did happen, right? Like
that did happen.
That's so like, they tried that. They brought him back. It ultimately stopped working, especially perhaps internally, because for our eyes, we were still thinking he was probably one of the better parts of the roster when they did stub him out. And I'm still to this day, like, I don't feel like Yehu was like bad by any means, but it didn't feel like a significant upgrade. And I feel like Yehu never hit the peaks that UCal hit. UCal didn't always hit those peaks, but the peak for UCal I thought was higher. But then we had the lazy field, like first foreigner to ever play in the LCK. So, that was very exciting, very unique and different. And then he didn't perform very well, and Teddy ultimately offered a lot more to the roster, and they decided they would rather keep the veteran than the new talent that is obviously going to do big numbers for them in Vietnam and is really exciting as a new prospect and has some really fiery team fights. But like, Teddy's just too stable. Like, this is almost the exact same situation we were just talking about moments ago. Like, Teddy's just too stable. We keep him in. And then ultimately DRX almost got into play-ins through playing through this. Rich, very up and down season, but kind of found his footing at the end. So DRX, a team that I think takes more risks and tried a lot more with a small budget this year than I think people give them credit for. I think they did a lot with a little, and it was pretty exciting to see the angles they were fishing for. But ultimately, like, they get eliminated, right? We'll have to see what they build next year. My theory is that DRX will try to get a larger budget, and will try to do kind of like what Nongshim did this year and try to get some big heavy hitters on their lineup. I think it'll be like half heavy hitters, half like prospects, you know what I mean? Like Andil might be like, you still keep him so you can keep the budget alive, but you get a bigger mid laner, maybe you get a bigger jungler. That could be what DRX looks for next year.
Yeah, I think you have to decide if this is a Teddy team or not, because Teddy warps how the team plays, like he just does, right? When in game 3, when we took a look at the draft, and even just as the game was playing out, I was like, God, I trust Teddy on Kai'Sa more than I trust Hype on anyone else. I was like, why don't we have the Kai'Sa? But like, that was a Teddy draft. They got to the point where Teddy can carry, and unfortunately they didn't. But that is how that DRX wants to operate. That's how that team wants to operate. That's how a Teddy team works. It's get to the late game and then let him do his thing. And most of the time that works if they get to the late game. But how often do they get to the late game against good teams? They don't. So if you're going to be that kind of a team, then I think then it informs where you're going. And by all intents and purposes, Wolf, everything that we've discussed leads to the conservative nature, to the stable nature. Like, trust what you know. Teddy is the leader of the team. He is a shot caller. He does not tilt. He's seen it all. And so therefore, is that the guy that you just stick with and go with? It feels like that's won out almost every time here, except I guess in the mid lane, what it looks like teams have gone for is like, if doesn't matter if you have high highs and low lows, we want the consistency, and that's what
just
Yehu
don't
provided.
like that's like it seems like that's the bar for our bottom teams. Is like, is our mid laner just going to be able to lane fine? Okay, cool. Get the solo queue monster. Yeah, he probably lanes really well because that's what he does all day, every day. He's plays by himself, doesn't communicate with his teammates, and like he gets a high rank. So yeah, seems safe. Yeah, grab that guy. Yeah, that legit kind of feels like the way.
Yeah. I think they have more than one spot to hold on to here. I think it's mid, and I don't know. Did Rich play himself into another year, Wolf?
I mean, his contract actually lasts until at the end of next year, so I think he is probably going to be staying on this roster. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be the starter. Like, they could invest. In my mind, I think DRX as an org, like, it just seems like they've been a little bit more focused on Valorant as of late, and like maybe this upcoming year they invest more into the League of Legends roster, because like obviously I know some people at DRX, and like I'm pretty close with Kanyang obviously, and I think that just from talking to them, this year roster is not like what they foresee this team is supposed to look like. Like, this is a world championship roster that still uses the deft quote like as their hashtag, the unbreakable spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think this team will not be happy to just kind of sit down at the bottom. I think they're probably a little bit more interested in getting a more competitive roster next year. So I don't know like what that means, but I think that, like, I don't know what that means in terms of how this roster will change, but I think, like I said, it'll be a little bit more like Nongshim's roster is my expectation.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens there with DRX. The players under contract. Frog, who we didn't see, leapfrog over Rich. Yehu is under contract. Lazy Feel is under contract. Rich is under contract. And that's it. So not Teddy. Again, you're right. It takes two to dance, but and UCal. So both mid laners under contract, but Teddy not and Sponge not, which was interesting. Like, I kind of feel like I don't know. Like, how do you feel about Sponge?
I think Sponge is he's just like very serviceable, but I think, let me think for just 1 second.
Yeah, right. Because
I think he's actually the. I believe it or not, like I don't think he is. I think he is the least performing jungler in the LCK. But it sounds wrong to say he's the worst jungler. You know what I mean? When you say worst jungler, it sounds like, oh, he's making misplays all the time. He's like always late on the play. He just isn't able to, like, I feel like he gets outpaced in games a lot. Like his jungle opponents are able to read him very well and like gank when he isn't there to counter gank. Like I just think he's been maybe this is my like theory about Sponge, because he was on that old DRX roster that was extremely dominant in challengers. I think in that roster they had a lot of teamwork and synergy, and then like Sponge knew where to go and was incredibly strong at that point. But then you took him out of that team and took all the pieces away and put him into this roster, and like it just feels like he's not quite able to read the lane pressure as well. And he's also not playing with dominant laners. Like he has Rich and Ye, who has a solo laners who are again fine, but not like the same level as the roster he played with on CL, where they were just crushing every game, and he had full prio. He could always play through that. So he just looks a little bit worse on a roster like this. I think Sponge might have, like, no one will trust him for this for the reasons we've talked about so much this episode. No one will trust him for this. But if you put him into let's say Gideon's position with stronger players, with like Kingin as his top laner, maybe he actually like looks like an insane jungler. Like maybe he looks way better. I just think on this roster it's really hard to shine. So I don't want to say he's the worst jungler. I feel like that's unknowable based on the roster he's given, but because of the way DRX play and how they kind of just play safe and sit back and let Teddy scale, he just kind of feels like he does very little in most games compared to the other junglers around him. That's my vibe about Sponge.
Chronicler's law of Sponge: if he gets ahead, they win. And it just was didn't get ahead a lot.
Yeah, no.
There's a couple times where it didn't happen, but majority of the time, if we got ahead, he carried. I'm scrolling through right now, Wolf, and I think you're right. Is he jungler 10 out of 10? He might be. Like, it's Gideon, maybe. It's not Cuz.
No, I don't think it's Gideon.
I mean, is it Lucid? You know, like
no,
Lucid's lows.
And like, is it Pioshik right now? Like maybe
is it
Pioshik? An argument for Pioshik for like round 2 or something, but not right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not Raptor. Like Raptor's played really well in my eyes. All right. Well, DRX, RIP. Thank you, DRX and DNF, for laying it out on the line, getting into the arena, and sharing your competitive spirit with everyone. We'll see what happens next year with the squads. Man, I think that took a long time, Wolf, but that was deserved. Like, we've just been blasted through these teams, and now we had the chance to encapsulate what that year was.
I enjoyed the discussion about the challengers pipeline and stuff as well. I thought, it was a fun little talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you enjoyed that talk, it's because you're you've got some great listening going on. And speaking of some great listening, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Raycon, where this message is sponsored by Raycon. Remember back to school shopping as a kid? New notebooks, new shoes, and new routines? I might not be at school anymore, but I love that feeling of starting fresh, kind of like playoffs coming up and play-ins coming up. That's why this fall I'm calling it Back to Cool, because Raycon's everyday earbuds classics are my must-have for getting into a routine and making everything feel smoother and cooler. That's what it says. Raycon's everyday earbuds classics are packed with upgrades, active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity so I can pair 2 devices at once, and a super comfortable ergonomic fit that stays put. They've got the new color, Cool Mint. It feels like an accessory that fits with me. Kind of like my hairstyle, it's different colors. Plus, they've got up to 32 hours of battery life, quick charge for 90 minutes in just 10 minutes of time, and awareness mode when I'm out on the train or on the bus. I can still hear things when I need to. Just a quick couple of taps there to change the mode of the noise cancellation. So I use it all the time on the bus, on the train, It is fantastic. Had it with me when I went on over to EWC. So it is a must-have. So head on over to buyraycon.com/MNW to get 20% off site-wide today. That is buyraycon.com/MNW to get 20% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/MNW. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon. All right, well,
Thank you.
we talked about the bottom two teams getting eliminated, but we had a battle between our top team and almost the top two teams. It was GenG and T1. They do battle for the 5th and final time in the LCK regular season. And again, GenG find a way to clinch it out. What did you make of this series? A 2-1 win for GenG.
This is a series that sometimes when I watch League of Legends as a caster, I'm so in the weeds of it. I'm so looking at every micro moment from it. But when I watch from home, this is my day off this week. When I watch from home, I get like a little bit more clarity on like the big picture for what I think about a series, because I'm not like constantly talking about it. I actually just get to sit there and think, which is similar to like when I'm desking, right? Desking also I get a bigger picture because I'm watching the game and talking with colleagues about it instead of trying to explain it in real time. You could rewatch team fights when you're at home. You could rewatch team fights when you're on the desk. And what this series came down to for me, I had a pretty good discussion with my Discord about this as well, was the drafting. The drafting here made me a little bit concerned for T1 moving into best of five. This is something we've been talking about a little bit with T1. And by the way, I mean like against teams like GenG and Hanwha. I think T1 will have no problems with even some subpar drafts against everybody else because they're insanely good right now. But if you want to beat GenG in a best of five, it might get trickier the deeper the champ pools get thinned out, because if you look at these three drafts, Game 1's draft felt the most close to me, right? You have a composition where Ruler has the Kai'Sa here with the Nico lane, so it's a stable enough lane. If it was Kai'Sa into Corki otherwise, like you're gonna have a rough time. Keria picks Poppy for some reason, right? This is a problem, by the way, in draft, and actually almost cost T1 big. It gave Ruler and Duro a ton of prio. The Poppy got so little value early on. Like, I think the game was not about Keria at all. It was like 0 and 6 on the Poppy, did very little. The game defining moment was when Faker made the clutch TP call in a very close game, right? Game 1 was insanely close. And that was so exciting to watch because Faker, so much experience, he is able to identify in this moment, like, if I do this like leapfrog, like frog hop TP, I can actually win this fight. Everyone's super low. Like, I actually can make this play happen. He goes in and does it. And it's a super insanely high risk play. And like he's using his TP for it, but he ends up winning that. They clutch it out. But this draft was the closest, and it still had issues, right? And then you move into Game 2 draft, and Rise Sivir totally fine, right? In terms of what that's supposed to do. Like, Rise side lanes, Realm Warps to follow, wave clear with Sivir. Like, this combo is super common because you have insane wave clear. It also means that you can stall games out sometimes for forever, basically, because they can never kill your inhibitors. You just keep clearing those waves.
Yeah.
And then they're playing into Zeri, right? And they end up with like Trundle, and they opt for the Renata pick in the end, which is very bizarre because it has almost no angle for getting bailout value. Like, you could almost argue like the best target for it, like in a scrappy fight, might be like the Trundle or something. Yeah. Like, like Sivir can get value out, obviously, but it's really tough. And there's just no way to kill the Zeri. I was watching this draft like screaming to the mountains, like, there's no way to kill Zeri! They're never gonna kill Zeri! It's never gonna fucking happen! Like, you can't kill this Zeri! There's no way. There's insane peel for Zeri, by the way, on the GenG side. They have engage and also so much safety. Because they have the Pantheon, they can match the side lane power of that Rise super well. And then, I was looking at this game, like, I think I actually was texting my friend, I said, I'm pretty sure Ruler gets a Penta in this game because there's no way to kill him. Then he got a Quadra, and then he got a Penta, and it was just like, yeah, well, what a surprise. You can't kill this Zeri. It's the best AD carry player in the league, and he's on Zeri, and you don't have lockdown, so you're going to get destroyed. They did. And then Game 3, you got Yunara. Oh, there's no setup. There's the desperation Tom Kench. I hope I can save the Yunara, because there's a Wukong Annie on the other side. They have the ruler Jin angle as well, so they can fall up from any angle. GenG have like a real comp, and then T1 are like, we gotta put Faker on Victor. We gotta put Faker on Victor. Quick, pick Yorick. We'll play through sides. We got Yunara, but like we got Saber, so Karya, he's good at Tom Kench. He's good at Tom Kench, so we just eat the Yunara when they try to alter with. It'll be fine, right? It was not fine. They did not do hardly anything in that game, and it was not a close one. And like, it's games like this where you see Faker on Victor, and you're like, you know, like Faker champion pool kind of an issue. I'm not sure what's going to happen when we go to game 4 if we go to a best of 5. You know, like this is where I'm most worried for T1, and that was kind of my takeaway. The individual play from T1 players, amazing, phenomenal. The standard T1 that you love, they can get out of almost any situation. Like the game 1 Faker play was, it's like why T1 can just win a world championship even though they're in bad form, like right before they go to Worlds. Like that's the magic. The magic might not be enough though in Fearless. Like I'm looking at this, man. This might be the first warning sign we have for T1 when we go deeper.
Like maybe. I like that the draft is the focus here, because I think when we talk about the top teams, we have mainly only been playing best of 3s, but these top teams have had experience at best of 5s. They know how important it is to fully know what their game 4 and game 5 plans will be, because generally they will make it there. And I just think, hey, where's Maokai? Where's Sejuani? We've seen Rek'Sai, you know, in other regions. And we're gonna go with Skarner here? Like, I don't know. Like, I think both teams are kind of like being like, you show what you're gonna play. No, you show what you're gonna play. No, you show what you're gonna play. All right, we'll play Skarner. Like, you know, like we'll play Victor. That's what it feels like to me.
I like
because you're like, your points are true, but T1 and GenG have both been on the record saying that they're trying to figure things out.
Sure. I see what you're saying, but like T1 needed to win this series to get second place. They in fact did not get second place because they lost the series. Hanwha actually still got it, even though we know T1 is a stronger team. When you think about T1's bottom lane, what 2 champions come to mind?
Like, just immediately
this season, yeah.
Oh, this season? Jin Bard.
Yes, Jin Bard. There you go, Jin Bard. What
was that? Was that what you're thinking of?
By the way, yes. What champion was banned? By the way, no team has been doing this against T1. I've been screaming about it, yelling about it, like this needs to happen. What champion is banned all 3 games? Bard. GenG is like, you are not playing Bard, Karya. It's not happening. Play something else. And like, they have been able to pretty consistently across this regular season get 1 Jin Bard win like every series. It's insane. I'm like, wow, T1 is so good at this comp. But like, please make them play something else. Like, how do they keep allowing this team to get through? And the Faker is still like, you try to ban Faker out because he has his pool a certain way. No, you're like, in the past you're like, oh, ban Azir against Faker every game. No, now just banning Azir makes sense. Like, you just do that by default. And then Karya still gets his Bard. They still get the Jin. They put Owner on Xinjiao or Wukong, and then it's like, oh, this comp just plays itself. GenG didn't allow it. This time they didn't get to play it. They weren't unable to do so. So I think that teams will kind of pick up on this, and T1 has to play an extra best of 5 now because they lost this series. And I think like experimentation is cool and all, but if experimentation is Yorick, Skarner, Victor, Yunara, Kench into Wukong, Annie, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't sound that like. I think most scientists would go, that's a ridiculous experiment. I don't think we're that interested. Maybe not. Let's try something else. I think it was a draft collapse, and GenG read them well, and T1 were a little bit exposed here. That's my take. Now this is not to say that T1 can't beat GenG in a best of 5. My expectation though is that the draft weaknesses here are either, like you say, experimentation and T1 hiding stuff because they think, oh yeah, 1 extra best of 5, big deal, we can beat anybody to face GenG or Hanwha later on. They might have that attitude. But I think when I look at this, I'm like, I don't think that's what's going on. I think T1 are being challenged in draft more directly here by GenG, who have a really good read on them and are kind of floundering a little bit around it. And T1 are the type of team that can beat anybody, even with a bad draft. Like, we've seen it so many times. But I want to say that one weakness that they have is thinking they can draft anything and outplay is kind of what it feels like, the confidence I'm seeing in draft here. Like, it's some draft error and some flexing and some like, oh no, Kara's like, I can play Kench, yeah. Have you guys seen my Tom Kench? Like, of course, I'm one of the best Tom Kench players, if not the best Tom Kench player of all time. Yeah, I can play that. We can save the Yunara. But like, you could beat KT like that, maybe. You could beat Nongshim like that, maybe. I just don't think you beat GenG, or maybe even Hanwha crushes you if they have the same draft that GenG has in game 3. So
Yeah,
I hope that we see some more flexibility and some big improvements and some secrets maybe that have been hidden from us. T1's got some strats. That's what I hope we see. But T1 has historically not been that team.
Well, I think this is the evolution of it. And I think because GenG has done that to them multiple times now, they've surprise drafted T1 multiple times. MSI Finals is a big one. The Ziggs Corky flip in round 4, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think they're like, okay, that's the level we need to operate at. We have so much veteranness, so much experience in our players, in our staff over the last 3 years, 4 years, however long it's been. That's the level we need to operate at to beat GenG this year. So let's see if this draft works, if we can pull out, a Kench and give them something to think about. But generally, in the best of 5, we won't get to that point. We won't get to that era. Just like how GenG figured out, hey, in game 1, we can leave the Bard ban to second round of bans, 4 or 5 bans. But in games 2 and 3, we have to ban it in 1, 2, 3. So what are we going to let through? And it was like, I think it was the Pantheon or whatever they let through. So therefore, we need to be comfortable playing into that. And we learned that from the Hanwha series before, where Hanwha banned it in 4-5. Then they banned it in game 2 in 1, 2, 3. And then they were going to ban it in 4-5 in game 3. And then they let it through. And then T1 won. Like, I think that's just the learnings that came through.
I mean, so, if you're hiding stuff, like, you want to talk about team hiding stuff, look at these GenG comps, right? Like, I'm playing Cassante, Wukong, Annie, Jin, Rakan. Like, how much more meta does it get in game 3? Like, like, GenG have, like, the S tier Giga comp, and you got over there, like, Victor, Yunara, Kench, with, like, no top laner and a Skarner. And it's like, these are champions that are in the meta, except Tom Kench, but Tom Kench is kind of niche in the meta for, like, a Jinx comp. But we have, like, the Giga comp. We're not showing anything. We're going to beat you. We really want to win and show nothing. And for you, you really need to win. And so that's why I don't necessarily buy into the experimentation for T1, especially in that game 3 draft.
Because there were stakes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, the draft has meta champions just not working well together. So we'll see what it looks like. I'm not trying to say T1 is about to, like, lose their first round match because their drafting is bad in BO5, because they're probably 3-0 until they meet GenG or Hanwha. Frankly, they probably will. I mean, maybe KT gives them a run for the money because they beat them last time, but who knows? I just I wonder. I'm talking about this for T1 now, for, like, what a T1 finals could look like against GenG. Like, do they have the BO5 draft if it goes game 5? Like, do they have that? I'm asking this question now. We'll find out later.
Long-term planning. All right. Well, GenG is one of the best teams in the world, Wolf. And actually, over at our friends at Kalshi, there are a lot of people that think GenG is going to win Worlds. 49% of people think that they're going to win Worlds. Wolf, what do you think of that?
So right now, if you watch the LCK and you watch, tangentially the other major regions, or, like, frankly, if you don't watch LCK watch the other regions, think like, oh, our best team is pretty decent, and then you look at and you know what the LCK is, and then you look at 29-1 GenG, you're like, well, that seems like a pretty safe prediction. I feel like GenG probably will win the whole thing. They'll win the whole world championship. They'll win the LCK. Like you look at those numbers, 29-1, you're like, why? How could I spread anyone else? But the thing is, on this Kalshi, yes versus no for GenG winning Worlds, right? Worlds winner question mark. GenG, yes or no? It's GenG or literally anyone else, right? And we have seen that T1 can play GenG close. Hanwha Life Esports can play GenG close. Even KT could play GenG close. So who's to say that an LPL team couldn't just knock them out, right, in quarterfinals? I think it's risky to say, yes, I think GenG will win Worlds because there's so many other volatile elements that we don't know right now, like what patch Worlds will be on, what that will look like. We don't know what GenG's form will be like if they can maintain it. We also know that even though GenG did win some of those really high stakes matches, including the one we just talked about against T1, T1 might outclutch them in a big series, as they have done many times before, and end up stopping them. It doesn't even have to be T1. It could be IG on a dark horse run. So to vote yes here is a risky investment, I would say. I think if you're not an LCK fan or you haven't been watching League that much and you just look at the numbers, yeah, you're probably thinking, yes, 100%. Like, no team is as dominant as this team. But history has shown that volatility exists, especially when we get to Worlds patch. And when you're saying GenG versus literally anyone else, I don't know if GenG is the safe prediction.
Yeah. Well, that is over at Kalshi, which is the CFTC regulated prediction market for esports and beyond. Head on over to Kalshi and you can invest in futures for almost anything. But here for League, we brought up the fact that GenG has currently a 49% investment rate here. If you think that is something worth investment, head on over to Kalshi and make your first $100 worth of trades, and you can automatically receive a 10% bonus using the code LFN. That's Kalshi.com, code LFN for the CFTC regulated prediction market for esports and beyond. All right. One team that was the beneficiary for T1 GenG that didn't play was Hanwha Life Esports here, Wolf. They conclude their LCK regular season as the number 2 seed and get that all-important bye in the LCK playoffs, which means they would just need to win one best of series to qualify for Worlds 2025, or the Worlds play-in. It would be Worlds or the Worlds play in there. Actually, would it be 1, 2? Yeah, it would be Worlds. It would be Worlds. So, how do we feel about Hanwha Life after this week? Because they made it through. It wasn't unscathed, but they made it through.
The big standout for me is that I don't know how I don't want to say this, but like I have to say it because if we're comparing him to the other mid laners in the Legend group, does he end up being 5th place? I think he might be. Zeka has just looked so invisible in most of his games. Like, he has the occasional pop-off game, right? Which is why I'm always like hesitant to say that, like Calyx is better than him. Like, 'cause I don't think that's necessarily true, but I feel like Calyx is so much more important to Nongshim than Zeka is to Hanwha. And there's these games where you're just like, was Zeka in that game? Like, there's been games where people are like, what was Zeka playing in game 1? And you kind of like don't remember because it was all about Viper, it was all about Zeus, it was all about like, did Peanut get ahead or did Peanut like mess up those dives? Like, well, how was the lights engaged? And then you're like, Zeka's there. He's there, yeah, he's the middle lane. And it just continues to be a bit of a trend for me when I watch Zeka play, that he's not making the same big impact plays that he made that got them to the summer championship in 2024 and got them to first stand and LCK Cup wins. where we were talking about Super Soldier, Game 5 Zeka, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I just haven't seen that Zeka. It feels like since like round 2 or something. And that's somewhat alarming because the rest of the players aren't always being as consistent either. Like Viper has fallen off a little bit here at the end. Peanut has actually had a bit of a resurgence, but he has had some lows. Same with Zeus. So if Zeka is the guy who's just consistently going to be low impact on mid lane, then I wonder if he can compete with Faker, for example, even who Faker has way worse laning phases than Zeka. Like Faker's laning stats are abysmal. But who cares when Faker makes the game-winning play? It feels like in a third of T1's games. Faker makes some insane Orianna ult or pulls Matador style in the top lane, 4 people, and then they get an objective because he sacrificed himself, tricked the enemy team. Like Faker's impact can't always be seen in raw stats, but when I see Faker play, I'm like, yeah, Faker is popping off. Like Faker is having amazing games, even though his KDA doesn't look great. His CS at 14 looks horrible. You know, he got solo killed. Whatever, doesn't matter. Because Faker wins the game for you a lot of the time afterwards. I don't think I can say the same about Zeka recently at all, and it's dragging my opinion of Hanwha down a lot because we've talked a lot about how Hanwha's a little shaky on objectives, how Peanut's been shaky. The team fighting is often just, did Delight find the engage? If yes on flowchart, then like, okay, then Viper cleans up fight. Did Delight not find it? Okay, then did Zeus find it? If yes, then like Viper cleans up fight. It's very, very simple how Han will play.
Yeah.
And it's like engage from Delight and Zeus, Viper cleans up house. But like Zeka is just not always a factor in those games. So I don't want to see any more Akali. I think that champion is so bad right now. Calix and Zeka are both like trying to say like that it's a thing. I don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's very good. It doesn't have CC, and it doesn't have utility, and that's what mid laners are right now. That's why Talia, Ryze are in every Galio, Annie. It's not a carry with Akali that does no CC and clean up kills and get into the backline meta. It's just not right now. So please don't play that, Zeka. If you want to play something that has a little bit of util, that also is your playstyle in melee, play Sylas. Play a little bit more Yone if you get a chance to do it. He's had, I think a recent game of Yone it was not that great, but we know he is really good at Yone, and it's in his wheelhouse. So
yeah,
I want to see Zeka drafted for more with not Akali. With anything else, like play to his style and draft around him a little bit more, so he can make the agency, because that's what puts Hanwha to me at like an 8 out of 10 instead of a 9 or 10 out of 10. Is just Zeka being like the bulldog of the legend group. Like he's safe, he's stable, he's not gonna he's not gonna mess it up, but he also isn't gonna do that much for you.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me that didn't really change too much was I thought we were going to see more AP junglers, right? I thought we were going to see a change with Zyra kind of coming back in, Brand coming back in, and those changes didn't happen as much, and it's led to Zeka only playing Yone twice, right? This rounds 3 through 5, and the most recent patch was the AP jungler patch, and really it was more of like the what was it, the laning Sylas? I guess I guess a little bit more Sylas here. We did see a Sylas, but other than that, it hasn't freed up too much opportunity, or maybe that's something they're saving for later. The jungle pools changing for later in best of fives. But yeah, Zeka has been pretty hit or miss. You brought up, you started the segment with like, is he 5th out of 5 in the legend group? I was like, no way. Right? Calix, right? Calix, right?
I think he probably is 4th. I think he probably is 4th, but like I'm opening the conversation because
we're comparing him to Calix. Like that's the problem.
I know.
Like,
well, I mean, it's like
we shouldn't be doing that, Zeka. You should be compared to BDD. You should be compared to like utility Faker, but we're comparing you to Calix right now because you look at the score lines; they haven't been great. When we think of the Talia walls, they aren't Bulldog bad, but they're in that direction. Like, they were great. So I agree. I agree with you, Wolf. I think you brought up fantastic points here. And it's not, even at EWC, remember, they got to get international experience there. It wasn't inspiring. I think the big takeaway I had was man, Zeus is really punishing these other top laners, but it definitely wasn't like, man, Zeka is having himself a day. It wasn't that. And if Peanut is going to struggle because of the meta, because of how long he's been playing, you can't have two people struggle and be a world's contender. Like, that just can't happen.
And it, like, to struggle for Zeka is to, like, still go 9-4-7 on Talia and beat Nongshim in a game 2 where Gideon just gets completely destroyed and Viper cleans up fights on Sivir, and you're not getting POM. No one's really talking about you after the series, but like, you did your job and it's fine. I just think when we have to talk about our big 3 teams in the LCK, and like, we've redefined the term big 3 because big 3 used to mean the only 3 teams that won World. Okay, unfortunately, Damwon and now Dplus are not in the big 3 conversation anymore, even though they were one of the first 3 teams to win, with Samsung and T1 winning. So like, GenG, T1, and Damwon were the only ones. Now DRX is one, so that term kind of started to shift a little bit anyways, and now it's like, well, Dplus are far from big 3, right? Far from top 3 in the LCK at this moment in time.
Yeah.
When we talk about our current big 3, if you're comparing the 5-man roster of Hanwha to what both T1 and GenG have, but like, let's just say, let's compare Hanwha to GenG, like our best team right now. There is no like weak point in GenG. Like, their bottom 2v2, insane.
Yep.
Mid laner, best laning stats, best laner, best team fighter, has all the data. Like, he has some of those Faker instinct moments, not as much as Faker, but he has everything. All the numbers like prove that he's the best, right? And you could see it with your eyes as well. Like, in the eye test, Chovy's incredible. And you have Canyon, right? And then it's like King, who's unstoppable. You cannot beat this guy in lane. He's also an incredibly powerful laner who will even like solo kill you randomly in an unfavorable matchup if he sees the angle. And like, if you say like, maybe Duro is a little bit young, maybe he'll make a mistake. Like, if you're really fishing, you could try to find like what is the weakness for GenG, because all 5 players pop off, Degon. Like, all 5 players are insane in their role.
Yeah.
And then you look at Hanwha Life and you're like, like, there's a lot of situational stuff. Like, Delight's been falling off a little bit recently. Peanut, inconsistent. Zeus, somewhat inconsistent. Zeka, invisible. And you're like, I'm criticizing this team that is insane, by the way, is 2nd place currently in our standings because the win did go to GenG in that T1 matchup. I'm criticizing them only because when we compare them to the 29-1 GenG, they don't stack up. When you compare them to T1 in terms of the clutch factor that Faker has, they don't stack up. When Guma and Keria, maybe they have some draft problems, but can still win with a lot of those drafts and can continually make insane plays on picks like the Bard, the Pike that Keria pulls out all the time. Like, when I make those comparisons, I'm like, ooh, Hanwha, you just don't stack up. Like, you're clearly tier 3, even though they weren't earlier this year and got enough wins when it mattered there to actually still maintain 2nd place. We know they're not our 2nd place team. Like, I think it's very obvious that they are our 3rd best team. And like, KT is like, excuse me, you say it's obvious? Because KT is knocking on the door right now as well. So got to be careful, Hanwha. I think we need to see big performance changes from Zeka in particular, but also the consistency needs to be found if this team is going to once again surprise everyone and lift an LCK trophy. Because they could get the back-to-back if everyone's firing on all cylinders. But you and I both can't predict that that's going to happen moving forward. There's not enough proof.
I laugh at the K. I mean, Perfect exists on KT. Good Peter, great. Bad Peter, not so good. Bad Delight, better than Bad Peter.
I'm not saying KT is 3rd, but like, I feel like KT could win a best of 5 in an upset against Hanwha if they have a good day.
Sure.
And Hanwha has a bad day, and that's
They'd
scary.
have to do it twice.
I can never see a world where KT beats T1 twice or beats GenG in a best of 5 ever, even once, right? But like, against Hanwha, I could see it.
That's true. Here's my Cope angle. I went to the picks here for Zeka. Remember at the beginning of that first round 3 that we had, it was all 2-0s. Wolf, it was like 2-0-0-2, 2-0-0-2. The top 2 teams, they beat each other, except T1 GenG, that one went 2-1, but every other game was a 2-0. The cope angle is maybe Zeka and Hanwha Life were trying to figure out what their game 3 mid lane pick was going to be, because you have the go-to game 1 picks, right? You've got Rise, Orianna have been rising up the priority. Talia, Azir, obviously they get banned, so if they're let through, that gets through. Annie also in that conversation could be there. Then when you get after that, that's where you get into the Galio kind of tier. You get into there's one more that I'm missing. We've seen Ari kind of rise on up as like that game 3 mid lane pick. Flex Aurora is something that they've experimented with, but Zeka experimented with the Akali, which we now know. Please know. He also did the Cassiopeia. Tried to flex that one in there, and then we know he has the Yone. So that's the cope angle that I have here for Hanwha Life Esports and Zeka. It was, okay, we're experimenting again, not thinking about results, kind of like my cope angle for T1, where they weren't thinking about second place or third place. It's, what are we doing for our mid laner here? Where's the pool go when we get deeper into a series? And I think, they've got the Yone, they tried the Cass. Unfortunately, I don't think they landed on anything. Maybe it's Flex Aurora, but that just takes away from the top lane pool. But I feel like that's what these teams are thinking about. I think KT and Nongshim and everyone else down, they're trying to make it in. No one's trying to hide anything. But I think that T1, GenG, and Hanwha, they might be trying to hide things and test and figure out.
We'll find out pretty soon. When playoffs start, like whether or not like this team has got some plans that they haven't been able to showcase to us, or if they just play like this and get blasted by the top 2. Like
that's what I want to set up to fans at home. Like,
yeah,
we had a long freaking season, the first time ever. So therefore, I want to give the benefit of the doubt to the teams that try experimenting. Because for the lower teams, including DNF and DRX, like especially DRX, as you said, they experimented with, hey, what roster are we going with? What players can we go with? What feels best with us? I think the top teams, they don't have roster questions. They have draft gap questions, because the draft gives so much more of an edge to the players.
Yeah, I think like some of the criticisms we have can be solved. Like sometimes when the stakes get high as a player like Zeka, you have a monster performance. Like DRX 2022. Sometimes like when it gets to be like, okay, we're the underdogs, but we can do this, we can pop off. Like same thing with the finals last year, right? Where they were able to win. Sometimes when the stakes get really high and you think like, I have the confidence, I can do this, I can pull this off, then you have those monster performances. We just haven't seen that from Zeka for a while. Almost feels like he's burnt out or something, but it's on these utility picks that he's never really been an enjoyer of utility picks, that like he's got to play. He has to play like Annie, Rise, Galio. His Galio was monster though earlier this year, but if you look at his recent performances on it, 0-4. It's his worst pick by far. Even though it was like one of his best picks earlier this year. So it's just it's hard to quantify it, but this is a lot of us saying like, feelings wise, I'm worried about this player. And his lane stats, by the way, I looked up some of his stats for like the summer part of this split, and like he's down on CS at 15 on average by 6. His gold diff at 15 is minus 235. His XP difference minus 256 as well. And 15% of the time he's a first blood victim. So even though I was saying like he's kind of bulldogging it, stats will be fine, it's actually kind of not. I mean, he's in the legend group. He's playing against Chovy and Faker and BDD, so kind of okay. Especially if you play 4 games of Galio, you're gonna fall behind in lane sometimes. But Step it up, Zeka. Otherwise, your team is probably not going to get back-to-backs. That's my bottom line.
I think not that. I think in that description that you just said, you're giving him way too hard of a pass. His name needs to be the one that we are comparing, not you're going up against Faker and Chovy and BDD. It's like, no, you are in that category. Stop doing that.
That's true.
0-6 overall on Galio this year, including EWC. He played it against anyone's AGAL. So an angle for teams to take in draft against Hanwha Life Esports in the mid lane, force him onto something that he can't play make. All right. Well, we get to preview best of fives right now. We made it, Wolf. Lots of best of threes. Yeah. We're at best of fives. It is time for coaches and teams to prove their worth in games 4 and 5. I hope we get there, man. Like, it's just so fun. It's so exciting. It is double elimination play-in time. So the way that this works is it's not win one, you're in. It's straight up. Like, I actually didn't know that there was a coin toss, Wolf. I assumed that Nongshim were the higher seed, so therefore they get to pick. But I guess if you're losing all the time in Legend Group and you make it in Rise Group,
yeah, like it's hard to know. I think the coin flips have been used in League of Legends in situations like this a lot, somewhat controversially, but that is what the rule book says, is that the play-in matches side selection will be decided by coin toss. So even though like for the cross group, like even though Nongshim is supposed to be default better because they're the Legend team, like the rules are a coin toss. I think Nongshim will beat Bro pretty decisively. I think the gap is pretty high between these two.
The time is here, Wolf. You've been saying this all along, and the time's here. For a while, I was like, I don't know. I feel like KT, probably. Nongshim, I don't think they could punch their way out of a paper bag right now because they haven't seen anything but big fat L's. L after L after L. This is the longest losing streak in League of Legends right now, other than the Chiefs, who are out. This is the longest active losing streak.
Yeah, it's very long. Like, we're talking like 3 months. I just don't rate. I don't rate either of these bottom laners, but I really don't rate Hype right now. And if I compare Kingen and Morgan, I'm like, yeah, Morgan's had some games, but Kingen is the best player on Nongshim right now. And Kingen, like, by the way, looks pissed when they're losing to KT. Like, he's like, guys, like, Gio, I swear, if you die one more time in the river for no reason, it's kind of scary, like what Kingen's performances are looking like. And I think if the rest of the team plays even slightly okay, they can smash. Closer versus Calyx is interesting to me. Like, we haven't seen this matchup in a really long time, and yeah. I want to see what Closer can accomplish. Because I think that matchup is closer than most people think. I think a lot of people just say it's Calyx for free. I don't necessarily think that's the case, depending on the draft. But both these teams have decision-making issues. But like we've talked about with Dplus and DNF, like the floor just seems way higher for Nongshim. To me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. As the Bro fan, when I think if we had to go up against Dplus or BNK FearX, I'd be more stressed about that, because in my estimation, I give you Kingen over Morgan, not by much, but agreed. Kingen playing well, and his ceiling is higher than Morgan's ceiling. Croco versus Gideon? That sounds like Croco to me, dog. That sounds pretty good. Calyx versus Closer? I think I slightly go with Calyx over Closer right now. Like, I think Calyx also I think the solo lanes of Nongshim have the win. Ju versus Hype? I do think that Hype is the worst AD carry in the league, but not right now. I slightly have Hype over Ju. And then Lehens versus Palu, I take Lehens, except, Wolf, when Lehens gets tilted. And you know what he's prone to do? He's prone to tilt.
That he is a bit prone to that. All KT fans will remember.
And I'm just saying, like, this is a good matchup. This is a good bro matchup. Probably better than the other two options that we could have had.
I think I'm gonna go 3-0 or 3-1 on this one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think the gap is big between Legend and Rise, and even though Nongshim have a single series, and like often look lost and defeated in their losses, like Bro almost lost to DRX yesterday. I'm just reminding everyone, like, there's a big difference between DRX and KT, right? And like KT crushed Nongshim 2-0, but KT just beat T1. Bro barely beat DRX to get here. Like, I just want to remind you of, like,
no.
Yes, there's been some pop-off performances. Yes, hype flashed on Teddy and killed him, but like there have been a lot of other issues. There's been a lot of other struggles.
We've seen what the alleviation of pressure does to a team. And that example is called the DN Automotive Freaks. We've also seen what the addition of pressure has done to Nongshim, which was crush them. It wasn't until they realized, oh, we are the worst team in Legend Group, before they started playing better, and they still didn't win. But obviously, like, again, they are the worst team in Legend Group. But the alleviation of pressure. There's no alleviation of pressure here for Nongshim. They are the favorites. They are the higher seed. They are supposed to win. You know who's here on house money with their world of fans supporting them, whether they win or lose, because they eked through the highest pressure situation there was? The Bros. I just think that it's going to be a performance.
No, I can agree with that. I can agree with that sentiment. And the crazy thing is, if they can win here, I feel like they have a really good chance of beating either Dplus or BNK, to be honest. Like, it's crazy how this matchup is so funny, because this one is the one that, again, Nongshim is supposed to be the Legend team, right? They're the one of the four that's the Legend team. But if Bro play against DK, like, we've already seen them beat DK. DK are not decisive, choke a lot on matches they're supposed to win. And then BNK, like, that one is tough. Like, I would definitely
that one we
BNK,
lose.
But yeah,
yes, out of all the worlds, Wolf. Like, I think if Bro beat Nongshim and Dplus beat BNK, I think Bro win. I think if Bro beat Nongshim and then BNK wins, I think we lose. And then I think pressure's on to make it, and then I think we lose again. I think there's only one world that Bro's making it to playoffs.
It's kind of crazy, the record for BNK versus Bro, but I think it's winnable. Like, it feels more winnable. Like, both of those matches feel more winnable than the match, but to me, but like, I don't know what bracket we're gonna end up getting. But if Bro can win this first step, like, maybe they actually go to playoffs. It actually feels possible. It feels viable. But again, who knows, man? With Bro's ups and downs.
Like, you know what I just realized we should kind of angle this week as? It's welcome to the Rise group, Nongshim.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Rise Part 2. Oh man, it's great. Let's do the other series. Dplus and BNK Fear X. This is historically, Wolf, one of my favorite series to watch. This is the risiest of Rise Group matches that before Rise Group existed. Last year's matches were just amazing. And this year's have been up there. Maybe not as good as last year's, but up there. How do you see this one shaking out?
So last time I predicted BNK over Dplus in round 5, Dplus owns them. And I was like, wow, I was really confident in my prediction for BNK. And it was like one of those Showmaker series where Showmaker pops off. Because of how the series went and how Showmaker like built a Magi's on Ari and just got extremely fed and took over the game, and BNK couldn't respond. It was not about team fights, wasn't about objectives. It was just about one man popping off. I still don't trust Dplus is the better team. I think Showmaker was the better mid laner and like got insanely fed, and Lucid had a great performance as well in the Xinjiao in game 1. If you guys remember, like Lucid popped off there, then Showmaker pops off next in game 2. Like that's not how best of fives are probably going to play out, where you just have like these random like 40,000 damage Jinzhao games that are going to carry you through. Like you have to get 3 of those to win a best of 5, or if you're just going to win through one player. And on the fundamentals on team fights, which we've discussed so much for Dplus and objectives, they still have problems. They almost lost to DNF just a few days ago.
Yep.
I think I have to pred B and K, and I like hate to do it because I just did it and was wrong like a week ago, and yet I'm like here going, well, I think I have to do it again because Dplus haven't changed. They haven't fixed the problem, and in a best of 5, I think that's going to be an issue. I could see this series going, Dplus wins game 1 in dominant fashion, where you're like, oh, just like the Dplus curse, and then game 2 close, lose, tilted, lose the next 2 games, lose 1-3. Like I feel like I'm just gonna lock in a BNK 3-1 pred here, and I think everyone's gonna call me an insane person, but I like when people tell me Dplus is the better team, and I ask them, they never fucking can say anything. Digon, I've asked people why they pred Dplus, why'd you pred Dplus, and they're like, I don't know, I just
you were doing
better.
that
I'm like,
week.
oh, why are they better? Like literally, why are they better? Explain to me why they're better. And like no one ever has an answer. They're just like, I don't know, it's Dplus, I'm gonna pred them. I'm like, they're higher in the standings, so they're better. No, give me the answer. Because right now I just don't trust it. I don't trust it at all.
Yeah, I think doing the same, just going lane to lane along the lines. I worry for Shiwu and Lucid against the focus of Raptor and Clear, just because of how much they struggled, and I think their flaws were shown. And I don't think there were clear answers other than Xin Zhao for Lucid that were there for Dplus. You know, I think that's what I worry about. I think the plan for Dplus has to be blast mid lane and get Showmaker going. I think for B&K, it's absorb the mid lane pressure, have Raptor have like a really good counter ganking jungler, and then you coin flip on Diablo and Kellen. Like I think that's the way here, and I think that has a higher potential chance to work for B&K Fearax over Dplus.
If you look at like lane to lane, some of these matchups, I go, yeah, is Showmaker better than Vikla? Like 100%.
100%.
Is Shiu better than Clear? Yeah, I think so, 100%. But it doesn't matter because League of Legends is a 5v5 game where the objective fights on Baron, on Mountain Soul, Hextech Soul, Infernal Soul, like those Elder, those are the fights that win you the game. And if you don't have, like if Showmaker goes 5-0 on Ahri and is flying around the map one-shotting everyone, then sure, you don't actually have to be a 5-man team. You just don't. Like Showmaker can kill anyone, it doesn't matter. But if that doesn't happen, you have to be a 5-man team. And B&K, despite having weaker players, the sum of their parts seems way bigger than Dplus, which is why I consistently predict against Dplus in the second half of the year when we have this series. Dplus had those monster performances last time. Will they do that again in the best of 5? I feel like if I predict that, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm predicting like the Dplus are going to get the right dice roll, and that's like not what this is about.
Yeah. Who has? Do you know who has side select?
I don't know about
that
this
series?
one. I just know about the bro one because I was told about
You were
it.
there for the yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Does it say anywhere side select? Leaguepedia is wrong. It says Nongshim have side selection, so that's wrong. So I can't trust that. I don't know. I think that's going to be important, but I think I go 3-2 B&K, 3-2 B&K, 3-1 bro over Nongshim. I think it only takes 4 games to deal with the Noodle Boys.
I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go 3-1 B&K. I'm locking it in, and I really want a 3-0, but I think I'll do 3-1 for Nongshim. Well, Hens will play like Elise or Poppy in a bad spot and like lose lane and try to roam, and that'll happen once. That'll happen once.
Hopefully it's early in the series and then he tilts. Hopefully it's game 2. He's playing Elise earlier and earlier. It hasn't been just a game 3 strategy here for Nongshim. They haven't had many game 3s, but all right. Well, there you have it. What an episode, man. That was super fun.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Thank you to everyone for sticking around throughout the LCK regular season. Wolf and I did our LCK All Pro votes. And they've changed LCK All Pro. Did the LCK All Pro staff. It will not be officially announced until the LCK Awards, which happens at the end of the year after Worlds. I don't like that change really at all, Wolf, but that is what we're doing. And so therefore we will reveal our LCK All Pro votes, Rookie of the Year, MVP, all that good stuff next episode. But for this episode, since it was so long and we had a lot to cover.
Look, I'm telling you right now, last Free Nation, I'm telling you guys, there might not be that much to discuss about these first few play-in matches comparatively, so I think we'll have plenty of time to discuss all.
I think Wolf just cursed us because it's the Rise group, and there's been a lot of culture to discuss during the Rise group. So Rise group plus our new Rise brother in Nongshim. We will have our all-pro vote. We will cover the play-in stage and any other news that comes on out here next week on Monte Wolf. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. We've got more shows coming your way, both in the LFN Culture channel as well as some other esports that will be covered. Thank you to all of you watching. Thank you for a great regular season, and we'll see you next week as we get into the playoffs. Bye-bye.